When I read articles or blog posts about frugal living, oftentimes minimalism will work its way into the discussion. And for anyone who doesn't know, this typically involves living with less, having what you need, and avoiding excess, which is a way of life that I do like and I also encourage it. But at the same time, I've never really considered myself to be a minimalist. And this may seem a little silly, but one reason why I've never really considered myself to be one is because when I look at photos of home decor of people who are minimalists, their style and the way they decorate is so simple. A lot of times they may have just a couch, a coffee table, a side table, and maybe a few plants. And even though I don't think I have a lot of stuff in my house, I do have more in comparison. But the older I've gotten, the more my mindset has shifted to one of having less. And I do feel as if I might be starting to lean more towards the minimalist side. The reason why I came to this conclusion is because I recently read, I think it was an article, and it was discussing different signs that you might be a minimalist without even realizing it. And it was about maybe 30 items on this list that kind of indicate that you might be leaning in that direction. So in today's video, we are going to look at some signs that you might be a minimalist without realizing it. And if you aren't, you might be at the beginning stages. And as I mentioned, there were several signs, but in today's video, we're only going to look at a few. And these are the ones that really spoke to me. The first sign is that you wear the same outfit over and over again. And when I read that immediately, I think that was when the first light bulb went off in my head, because that is something that I do and I've been doing it for years. And when I say wear the same outfit, I'm not talking about wearing the same thing every single day of the week, although some people might do that. But I know for me personally, I definitely have my uniform. It does not matter how many items I have in my closet. Whenever it's time to pull out something to wear, and this mostly applies to casual wear, I always go for the same 2 or 3 pairs of jeans and the same handful of tops. It does not matter how many items I have in my closet. I tend to always pull out the same items. A lot of the clothes that I do gravitate to, they do tend to be like white, black, gray, and silver. That's just what I'm comfortable in. And in the past, I've tried to step outside of that and buy clothes that were a little more colorful and just more personality, but it really just ended up being a waste of money because I would buy like orange sweaters, pink sweaters, and other bright colors, and I wear them. I do wear them, but I don't wear them as often as the other items. My goal in the future is to create a capsule wardrobe for casual clothes because I do feel that 10, 15 pieces is really all I need. The second sign is that souvenirs make you cringe. Now, I have to say, I haven't always been like this. We love to travel, and over the years, when we would go to different places, we would always load up on souvenirs. But then it got to a point where the souvenirs were really starting to get on my nerves. And looking back, I can't even really pinpoint why it happened or when it happened, but it seemed as if I just walked into the house one day and they were just everywhere, taking up every corner of every table or shelf. And I was just like, okay, no more. I didn't get rid of them because they are memories from our trips, but what I had to do was pack them away so that they're out of sight. And now whenever we go someplace, our pictures really serve as our souvenirs. And if I do buy something, I might get like a mug because that's something that I can actually use every day. Another sign that was really interesting is that you've thought of living in a tiny house. Now, I will say I've never considered living in a tiny house per se, but I do find the van life to be very intriguing. I've seen so many of those types of videos on YouTube, and I think it is amazing. Now, honestly, I don't know if it's something I can do long term, but I do love that idea of just getting in your car, driving, exploring the country, just going to different places, and just having that lifestyle where you're just so mobile and you can work from anywhere, you keep your expenses low, you're able to save money. I think that's just like the coolest way to live. But of course, that type of living isn't practical for everyone. but even if you haven't considered living in a tiny house or living in a van, maybe you've considered downsizing and having something with less square footage. And one cool thing about living in a smaller space is that there's less room for clutter, and it makes it so easy to only live with what you need. Another sign that you might be a minimalist is that you have frequent buyer's remorse, and this is another thing that I've struggled with most of my adult life, and I don't even really know why. I might need to talk to someone about this. And this doesn't really happen with smaller price items. Like if I go to the store to buy a pair of socks, I'm not gonna have buyer's remorse. But when it comes to more expensive things, yeah, I go back and forth for days, sometimes weeks, and it really doesn't make any sense because I think about all purchases. Actually, I probably overthink my purchases, which is why I'm having buyer's remorse. But you know, I save up, I plan, I get stuff that I can actually manage and afford, but it doesn't matter. I will typically just change my mind. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get it. No, I'm not gonna get it. And then after going through with a purchase, I might spend the next 2 or 3 days questioning my decision as to whether or not it was the right one. So I don't know, it's something I have to work on. Another sign is that you know what you like. And this was another one that was really spot on with me because over the years, I've learned to really not settle whenever I'm buying something, because oftentimes that has blown up in my face and I end up spending more money in the long run. And I really experienced this when I was buying things for our house. We would go out to a lot of home decor stores and I had in my mind what I wanted to buy, and a lot of times I really couldn't find it. But because I was in a rush to really fill space or decorate a room, a lot of times I would buy stuff that it was cute, but it wasn't anything that I was really crazy about. Once I put the stuff up, you know, see it for a couple of days, I'm sitting there shaking my head thinking, you know, it's not really working for me. And I ended up taking a lot of stuff back, or if it was stuff that I kept and I couldn't return, I would end up eventually just finding what I actually wanted and buying that instead. So I would end up wasting money. So I pretty much learned since then that if I'm not crazy about it, I'm not gonna buy it. And that doesn't only apply to home decor, it really applies to a lot of stuff. Whether I'm buying shoes, whether I'm buying clothes, it really doesn't matter. You might also be a minimalist if you have clutter anxiety. And when it comes to this sign, I probably don't have to say much. It pretty much speaks for itself. If you walk into a room and there's clutter, there's stuff all over the place, it might send you into a panic attack depending on how bad you hate clutter, or it might just make you a little nervous or anxious. Some people can't concentrate. That's definitely me. I cannot work or even think in a space where there's too much going on. Another sign is that you value experiences over stuff. And you know, a lot of people, when they become minimalist, a lot of times it's because they want to spend less time on stuff that's not important and more time doing stuff that they love. And oftentimes being able to do more of the things that you enjoy, whether it's spending time with your family, whether it's traveling or hobbies, that usually will involve being in a position where you're able to work less. And of course, we all know if you live a simple life, if you don't have as many expenses, then there's the opportunity where you can be more flexible with your work. Another sign is that you like open spaces. In fact, you might have rooms in your house that are either completely empty or mostly empty. And I can definitely relate to that. Currently, we don't have any rooms in our house that are empty. However, the room that I'm in at the moment, we've been living here for 4 years, and for 3.5 years, this room was pretty much empty. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to set up in here so I could actually use it. At first, we decided to make this room a dedicated guest room, and we were gonna put up a standard full or queen size bed. But you know, I really, after a while, I was thinking about it, and I didn't want to give up the extra space because I love walking in here and just having the openness. So instead of getting a traditional bed, we decided to go with the Murphy bed cabinet, which it's a full-size bed, which really works because it kind of serves multiple purposes. I can have my camera gear set up here, I can have the bed there, and you know, when I walk into the room, I still have openness, which I love. Another sign that you might be a minimalist is that you prefer quality over quantity. Now, I have to be clear. I'm not saying that I never buy inexpensive stuff, because I do. Usually Old Navy will have their sales, especially in the summer, where they will have their t-shirts or tank tops for like $8. And when that happens, I often will go and I will buy a few to get me through the season. I love them. They're perfect. This is actually one of them right here. And I love them. But the older I get, the more I do appreciate quality and spending a little bit more on items, mostly when it comes to my clothing, because I find that they do last a lot longer. So typically when it comes to like my jeans, my shoes, my jackets, and maybe even some of my sweaters, I do have certain brands that I prefer and that I will buy often. And so far it's been working out really well. I have clothes in my closet that I have owned for many years, and you pull them out and they are still in great condition. I have jeans that I have been wearing for 4 or 5 years, and I mean, they still look great. So when it comes to certain things, yes, I will pay a little more because I feel that in the long run, I'm going to save money. Another sign that you might be a minimalist is that you hate debt. Now, to be fair, I'm sure a lot of people don't like having to owe anybody anything, but when it comes to debt, some people are more comfortable with it than others. Some people, they're okay having a credit card balance and carrying that balance from month to month. Personally, I hate debt, and that applies to all types of debt, but more specifically credit card debt. Now, I'm not saying I don't use a credit card, because I do use mine. However, I pay off the balance in full every single month because I just do not like having it hanging over my head, and I definitely don't want to pay interest. And even with other types of debt, going forward, my plan is really to get rid of it as soon as possible. After 10.5 years of driving the same car, I recently purchased a new car about 3.5 weeks ago, and nowadays average car terms range from like 60 months to 72 months. And as far as filling out the paperwork, I did choose an average term. However, my goal is really to get rid of it in about 3 years. That way I can just get rid of the debt, move on, and not have it hang over my head. So there you have it. Those are a few signs that you might be a minimalist without realizing it. And if after going through this list, any of the points resonated with you, definitely comment below and let us know. Thank you again for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing. On this channel, we talk a lot about different money topics, mostly how you can save money, but also how you can improve your entire financial outlook. So if you like videos like this, I do post every weekend and sometimes during the week. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in a few days.